When I returned to my old, ruined house, my adopted children's laughter turned into tears. The walls seemed to shudder at my presence, groaning as if the very structure could feel time crawling on its back. I stood there, at the threshold of memories, staring at the cracked paint yellowed like an old photograph, faded with the weight of silence. The air was thick, heavy, almost suffocating, wrapping around me like a cold, uninvited embrace. I will never forget the day everything fell apart, I thought, as the laughter that once danced through those halls now echoed back with unresolved pain. My children, once so vibrant, stood frozen. Their faces twisted into frowns, a haunting contrast to the joy I remembered. It was as if something darkly magical had swept through my home, erasing smiles, leaving behind only broken dreams. That I stepped into the dim light spilling through the shattered windows. Dust motes floated like lost souls, whispering secrets of what had been. The floorboards groaned beneath my trembling feet. My heart raced, thumping against my ribcage, a tangible reminder I was alive in the presence of this ghost of a home. "Mommy, can we leave?" one of my kids asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Tears glistened in her eyes, making the laughter of moments before feel like a cruel joke. What had transformed our sanctuary into this shell of despair? I felt the weight of their fear pressing down on my chest, quickening my breath. Fragments of laughter flashed in my mind, memories like snapshots, overshadowed by this oppressive reality. That I turned towards the staircase, a sense of dread settling in my gut. It was as if the house was alive, breathing through the cracks and creaks, taunting me. Why was I back here? I had left for a reason. My soul throbbed at the thought of the family I desperately wanted to protect. The atmosphere pulsed with an urgency I couldn't ignore, screaming to be unraveled. Then, I stumbled upon something shiny under the stairs pendant. It glimmered like a whisper from the past, drawing me closer. But as I reached for it, a chill swept through me, paralyzing my hand mid-air. What was the story behind this forgotten piece of jewelry? The silence cracked around us, heavy, pregnant with unspoken words. That I felt their eyes, wide with both curiosity and caution, and my heart sank. What if this was a harbinger of things better left untouched? I asked myself, had we awakened something? My mind raced, tangled in questions. The laughter, where did it go? An overwhelming need for answers clashed with the urge to escape, and in that moment, as I gripped the pendant, I heard a whisper, a faint voice echoing through the walls. "Help me!" It sliced through the air, freezing my breath. My palms went clammy. Who needed help? I turned to my children, their eyes reflecting a mix of fear and bewilderment. The house shuddered again, rattling, as if it were alive and breathing with spirits long forgotten. I felt the weight of their gaze on me. I could feel their hearts pounding, mine matching the rhythm, the tension palpable. This place, this ruined home, was not just a shell. It held secrets, dark, twisted secrets that demanded to be unearthed. But did I dare? Was our safety worth the risk? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The chilling stillness of the room was pierced only by the tremoring breath of my children, their innocence painfully stark against the creaking floorboards. I could sense the fear coiling around us, a sinister vine pulling tighter as I clutched the pendant. The whisper that had echoed through the walls now resonated in my mind, a haunting plea that felt tethered to my very being. "Help me!" The words hung in the air like a thick fog, and as I glanced at my children, their small faces drew tight in fear. Would I be leading them into darkness by seeking answers? The weight of my choices bore down on me, yet an insatiable curiosity gnawed at the edges of my apprehension. I had devoured entire libraries of lore about spirits and hauntings, but this was different. This ache felt personal. "Mommy, what was that?" my youngest asked, her eyes brimming with tears. I knelt to pull her into my arms, trembling as I brushed her hair back. "I don't know, love. But I promise I'll keep you safe," I whispered, the promise tasting bittersweet on my tongue. Yet even as I spoke, shadows danced in the corners of my mind. Had I truly succeeded in ensuring their safety when I chose to return to this place? With hesitant steps, I moved deeper into the house, the walls' whispers intensified, urging me forward. My adopted children followed closely behind, a line of small, vulnerable figures drawing their courage from my own faltering strength. It was both heartwarming and heart-wrenching to see their trust amid the shroud of secrecy. As I wandered through the living room, my gaze fell upon our old piano, draped in a fine layer of dust that seemed to dance like grief in the air. Memories flooded back, moments of laughter swirling around the melody of a song the last time we had played together there, filling the corners of the house with life and light. A sudden movement at the edge of my sight drew me from my reverie. Instinctively, I turned. There stood a figure at the staircase's landing, a silhouette bathed in the gloom. My heart raced. "Who's there?" I demanded, my voice steady despite the apprehension knotting my stomach. The figure hesitated, before stepping forward into a sliver of sunlight, revealing a girl not much older than my son, with tangled hair and wide, frightened eyes. "Please, don't be scared," she stammered, her voice barely above a whisper, echoing the same plea that had resonated through the fabric of the house. I can help you. I need to tell you something." I blinked at her, and in that brief moment, the house held its breath, caught between hope and despair. My children pressed against me, their trepidation palpable, their little hearts seeking reassurance from the unknown. Yet, there was something about the girl's presence that emanated a flicker of hope. "What do you know?" I asked cautiously, my grip tight on my children. "Who are you?" "No time to explain," she stammered, glancing nervously over her shoulder as shadows shifted behind her in the dim light. "You shouldn't be here. You have to leave, but I know why you came back. There's something you need to find. It's not safe." A tightness gripped my heart. "What do you mean? What is not safe?" The girl's eyes flickered with fear before she took a small step forward, lowering her voice. "They're angry. They don't want you here. They want what you took, what I took." My mind raced to the moment I had left, the decision to take my children and start anew. But I was back, I had returned. A gut-wrenching realization washed over me. Had my past caught up with us in this cursed place? Before I could voice my fears, the air shifted, a sinister presence filling the room. The temperature dropped, and I could feel the hairs on the back of my neck rising. "You need to go," the girl urged, panic turning her voice sharp, but she was standing too close to the edge of the staircase. As if the house itself had sensed our turmoil, a resounding crash echoed upstairs, shaking the very foundation beneath our feet. My heart plummeted. Whatever was lurking above us had stirred, and it was angry. I clutched my children tighter, their small bodies trembling against mine, my instinct to protect them igniting fiercely within. "Now!" I shouted to the girl. "Come with us," but as she turned to flee, a dark shadow swept across the landing, encompassing her like a swirling storm, and she vanished before my very eyes. "Mommy! Please, let's go!" One of my children cried, pulling me back toward the door. "What just happened?" I gasped, my chest tightening as dread pooled in my stomach. Shadows were closing around us, the world compressing into a narrow shaft of fear. That I turned for one last glance at the staircase, my heart pounding furiously. "I'm going to find out what happened here," I murmured, my determination clashing against the weight of fear looming over us. "I have to know what I've done." But in that moment, something began to tug at the corners of my heart, a flicker of hope ignited by the girl's plea and a longing for truth that could shatter the shadows surrounding us. Still clutching the pendant tightly, my resolve grew stronger, but as I turned towards the door, I felt a searing jolt, a voice echoing louder in my mind, "Help me." The journey had begun, but what awaited us beyond the threshold was yet to be unveiled. And just as we stepped into the fading light, a new revelation struck. A familiar face appeared in my mind, distant but achingly familiar, whispering secrets I was beginning to understand all too late. The bracing autumn wind swept through the doorway as we stepped outside, momentarily freeing us from the suffocating grip of the house. I inhaled deeply, the crisp air filling my lungs, but with it came the bitter taste of dread. My children huddled close, their faces pale and aglow with the fading light. I could hear their hearts beating rapidly, a collective rhythm of fear and uncertainty that seemed to mimic my own. "Mommy, can we go back to our new home?" my youngest asked, her voice trembling like a frail leaf caught in a storm. I forced a smile, but inside, the weight of despair threatened to crush me. The old house loomed behind us, a monument to a past I thought I had escaped. "Yes, love. We just need to figure out what." I paused, the words caught in my throat as a chilling realization dawned. The girl's message reverberated through my mind. She had said something was taken, and I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever it was, it connected to the very fabric of my life now intertwined with my children. Turning away from the structure that had haunted my dreams, I led my children down the winding path leading away from the house. Each step felt weighted with the echoes of forgotten laughter and whispered secrets. The world around us dimmed, shadows stretching into unnatural shapes, trying to ensnare us once more. Despite my best efforts to reassure them, fear clung to us like a second skin, the questions hanging heavy in the air. "Why did she say we shouldn't be here?" my middle child asked, glancing back toward the house with wide, anxious eyes. "I don't know, but I promise it'll keep you safe," I repeated, knowing the words rang hollow. I was a keeper of promises fast disintegrating beneath layers of fear and uncertainty, and even as I reassured my babies, uncertainty gnawed at my heart that we moved farther away, the house slowly swallowed by twilight, and my mind refused to settle. A memory stirred a painting that once hung in the living room, an abstract piece that resembled the chaos of spirits caught between worlds. It hadn't been just art. It felt more like a portal, waiting to be unlocked. My heart thrummed with the realization that perhaps the answers lay buried within that lost piece. It wasn't about what I had taken, but what I had never truly understood. "That we should go back," I said suddenly, surprising even myself. My voice shook with conviction, but a surge of determination coursed through me. "There's something there we need to find. Something that can help." "Mommy," my youngest whimpered, "please don't make us go back." I knelt, grounding myself as I clasped her tiny shoulders in my hands. "Listen to me, my sweet girl. I know it's scary, but sometimes we have to face our fears to be free. We need to find out what happened and what we left behind." My children exchanged looks, fear clashing with trust. They rooted for me, and as we made our way back, small gestures of encouragement spread through our actions. A squeeze of their hands, a whispered promise, the reminder that we were in this together. Each step back toward the hushed facade of our old home felt like wading through thick fog, but I pressed on, fueled by the sheer will to protect them, the need to confront the truth. As we reached the front steps, an eerie stillness held the air hostage, and for a heartbeat, time froze. A pulse of energy rippled through the ground, vibrating beneath my feet. The house seemed to awaken, the whispers amplifying, echoing through the very core of my being. Then, the once familiar dark silhouette appeared again at the staircase landing, now more pronounced. I gasped, a flicker of recognition lighting within me. A childlike figure, the same age as the girl who had spoken to me before. She radiated an aching sorrow surrounded by the shadows clinging to her, twisting and weaving like dark clouds refusing to dissipate. "Help!" the hollow word washed over us, pleading, beckoning toward resolution. In that moment, my children had faded behind me, their hearts suspended in the tension of uncertainty. It was an ethereal echo, and I felt the gemstone pendant warm against my chest, a subtle connection flashing between us. "Who are you?" I called out, my voice thick with dread and urgency. She stepped forward, her figure flickering like a distant star about to extinguish. "You must remember," she whispered, desperation seeping into every word. The shadows loomed around her, constricting as if time were trying to pull her back. "Remember what?" I felt the tremor in my voice, panic rising as the truth eluded me, and then, with a sudden gravity, a revelation struck like a harsh wind cutting through the night. "What have I done?" I breathed, realization crashing over me. It was never about what I took or left. I left a piece of my heart here, and it's tied to you. You're the one I lost at that moment. The air thickened, the house shuddering as if recognizing my epiphany. I reached out to her, a lifeline forming between our outstretched hands, but the shadows surged, ready to devour her once more. Just as her fingers brushed against mine, the ground thundered, and I felt the house's despair weigh heavy in the atmosphere. My children cried out, but I couldn't look back, my heart screaming for answers just beyond grasp. The impossible choice hung before me: continue forward into darkness to uncover the truth, or retreat, leaving the fragile connection to dissolve. As the darkness surged, enveloping her shape, a single thought grasped my heart, vivid and piercing: "Help me," echoed through the night, the girl's voice melding with the haunting chorus of lost souls, and my own heart wrenched at the realization that my battle had only just begun. The weight of that echoing plea filled me with fear and a consuming urgency as everything around us began to shift. In that instant, my instinct responded faster than my thoughts could catch up. I plunged forward, consumed by a blind determination to grasp the figure before it faded completely. "Wait!" I cried, summoning every ounce of strength I had, pushing against the suffocating shadows that sought to tether me to my fears. My pulse thundered in my ears as I felt heat radiate from the gemstone pendant, a familiar warmth anchoring my chaotic thoughts. Just then, my instinct faltered, and I glanced back at my children. Their faces etched with confusion and fear struck like daggers to my heart. "Mommy, please," my youngest's voice pierced through the haze. The horror reflected in their wide eyes became an unbearable weight, transforming my fierce resolve into a guilt so profound it nearly knocked the breath from me. "Stay here," I barked out, the sharp tone surprising even myself. I couldn't let them bear witness to whatever darkness lay beyond, the shadows threatening to swallow the girl whole. I steadied myself, grappling with the fragile thread that had woven my children and me into this reality. With one final glance over my shoulder, I saw the girl, her figure flickering and wavering, shimmering like heat waves in the distance. My heart twisted painfully. She needed me just as much as my children did. "Please, come back," I shouted to the girl as if my voice would reach the depths of her lost world. Just as my feet seemed to want to pull me backward, her gaze held me, a silent hope threading between us. I could feel the connection throbbing, stronger than fear, tethering me to a past I hadn't fully grasped. In that moment, inspiration illuminated my foggy mind. "I remember you," I cried out, forcing the words into the depths of my soul. "I remember us. I never forgot. I just didn't know your name." The shadows pulsated violently, a deep rumble low and intimidating, but I could see the flicker of her fading brightness paused. The house quivered as if both delighted and enraged, the walls groaning in response. "Help me remember more," I chanted, stepping closer, pushing past the veil of fear that had gripped me so tightly. "Tell me what to do. I need to find you." The girl's piercing eyes glimmered beneath layers of despair. "You must seek the truth hidden beneath what you thought was lost," she gasped, her voice growing weaker, strained by the weights of shadows around her. "It's the only way to set us both free." The warmth of my pendant pulsed in recognition, urging me forward. "The truth, the truth," I repeated like a mantra, already knowing it dwelled somewhere deep within the Hoshan unfinished story that had to be told. That I sprang back toward my children. Each breath filled with purpose, choice raged in my chest. I had to strike a compromise. I had to convince them that we could face the darkness together. "Guys, listen to me," I said, my voice trembling but resolute. "There's a girl in here. Maybe I know, we can help her if we brave this together. It's connected to our family, to who we are." "Are you sure?" my middle child asked, her voice wavering. What if the house is dangerous?" I took a deep, stabilizing breath. "I understand your fears, but we cannot turn our backs now. It's important. Trust me." I pulled them close, the warmth of their small hands brought an aching closeness that ignited my determination. As we stepped back toward the threshold, the energy of the house shifted, the atmosphere thickened and crackled with electric apprehension. The familiar contours of once hallowed rooms began blurring into a menacing distortion, swallowing reality into a sea of shadow and light. But then, as if sensing the presence of our love and resolve, a fleeting shimmer flickered through the hallway. The whispers quickened, morphing into a chaotic symphony of forgotten laughter and muted cries. "Stay together," I murmured, my heart swelling with resolve mixed with thinly veiled dread. Each child's hand clutched tighter, a united front grounded in the love we shared. In that space between fear and hope, we stepped further inside. As soon as I crossed the threshold, the door slammed shut behind us, a finality that echoed through the air like a gavel striking wood. The house held its breath, the shadows encroaching, enveloping us in darkness laced with anticipation. Then, out of nowhere, a surge of courage washed over my children, their determination igniting my own. "Well, find her, Mommy. Well, help her," they insisted, voices trembling but resolute, but as we ventured deeper, the house seemed to mock our unity. Each step resonated ominously, the darkness whispering secrets and urging us to disperse. I felt an oppressive weight settle in the air, pressing against our collective spirit, even as the threads binding us together began to fray. Suddenly, a deafening crash erupted behind us as the echo of footsteps reverberated through the air. The shadows around us coalesced, coiling like serpents, and for a moment, I froze. There was something else here, something shadowy lurking beyond the veil, fixating on our escape. "Run!" I screamed, my instinct screaming at me to protect my children. We bolted deeper into the house, the ominous shadows crashing behind us with feral hunger, and in the pandemonium, I couldn't shake the feeling that the dark had anticipated our return. Then, just when we thought we would be consumed, what felt like a hand brushed against mine, as if urging us onward, leading us toward the unknown truth hidden within the depths of our history. "What if?" I murmured aloud, but the words vanished into uncertainty. And then we stumbled into a room bathed in moonlight illuminating a chilling discovery, a dusty mirror standing solitary against the wall, and I could see the reflections shifting, depicting scenes I couldn't decipher, churning through epochs lost in memory. At that moment, as our gazes were drawn toward the mirror, an unsettling feeling gripped my heart. What lay within its glassy depths could either unravel us or bring us salvation. With a shuddering breath, I stepped closer. A haunting question loomed: would I find my truth or condemn us to relive the chaos? Would the girl return if I did? But the reflections twisted and warped, a haunting revelation hanging just out of reach, and I felt dread seep through the cracks of our tenuous resolve. This journey was only just beginning, and as the air thickened with unanswered questions, the truth appeared ready to break free, bittersweet and haunting, echoing the silent plea waiting to be understood. Just as I grasped the edge of clarity, something behind us shifted ominously, and I turned, my heart pounding against the rising dread of what lay beyond the mirror's shining surface. With my heart thudding like a drum in my chest, I stood before the mirror, entranced by the way it rippled with unimaginable energy. The scene before me twisted, revealing glimpses of laughter interwoven with tears, the joyous moments I had shared with my children juxtaposed against a tapestry of pain I had yet to uncover. "Mommy, what is it?" My youngest, her voice barely a whisper, tugged at my sleeve, her innocent eyes wide with fear and curiosity. The weight of my silence felt unbearable. How could I explain what lay in the depths of that glass? "Just hold on tight," I murmured, my thoughts still reeling from the bittersweet scenes unfurling before us. The reflections danced wildly, illuminating moments from our life I hadn't fully appreciated before: birthday parties, vacations, quiet nights spent reading together. All of it seemed so beautiful, each happiness balanced precariously against the looming shadows of our past. But then, the laughter faded into whispers as scenes shifted, showcasing images of fierce disputes and silent tears, me anger simmering beneath the surface, the way pain had seeped into our family dynamic after we'd lost so much. My breath caught painfully in my throat. Would my children see it? Would they sense my regrets? My failures? "Mommy, I don't like this," my middle child whispered, her voice trembling as the last remnants of joy flickered away, replaced by scenes of isolation and conflict that now seemed so crude, so ominous. She stepped back, her small hand retreating from mine, and I felt the chill of separation weave its way into my heart. "Please, don't step away," I begged, my voice cracking. I grasped her hand tightly, pulling her back toward me, toward the fragile thread of our unity. We can't let it pull us apart. We're in this together, no matter how painful it may seem. My oldest took a deep breath, his determination softening the edges of my anxiety. We know it's hard, Mommy. But maybe we need to see it. Maybe that's how we find the girl. How we find the truth. His voice trembled, brave yet unsure. At his words, I felt a sliver of hope emerging amidst the chaos. Could this be the key? The way to not only understand the shadows but also summon the girl back to us? Yet I hesitated, the fear of unearthing past sorrows holding me captive. When I dared to look back at the mirror, horror twisted in my gut. The glass shimmered with an icy light, and for a fleeting moment, I beheld the girl's face locked within the depths, a spectral pleading frozen in time, cloaked in vulnerability. She reached out, her ghostly figure struggling against unseen shackles, caught in an eternal echo of despair. I felt the connections woven through our shared pain starting to stretch like the delicate strands of a spider's web. Help me, she whispered, her breath heavy with despair, and those two simple words struck me like a bolt of lightning, igniting the fears I had long buried. I had spent years guarding my heart against the past, unwilling to confront the pain that seeped into my very soul. But perhaps the only way forward was buried deep within me, tangled in the silence and sorrow that had come to define my existence. Okay, I said, shaking but resolved. Well, help her. We can't run from this anymore. We need to face it together, and then maybe we'll all find peace. The sound of my voice drew the attention of the shadows swirling from the corners of the room, and I could feel their oppressive presence suffocating the air we breathed. The walls pulsed with anger, the house quaking in response to my decision. Stay close. I called to my children, the words pouring out with urgency. We're stronger together. With resolve anchoring my spirit, I turned back to the mirror. Its surface began to ripple, the haunting scenes intensifying before us. We brushed against the shadows, feeling the frigid weight of regret wrap around us, urging us further into the depths of our past. As our fingers stretched toward the glass, the scenes collided, past and present diverging into a tumultuous swirl of memory. I could feel threads of our love intertwining with the anguish echoed in the girl's gaze, the pain morphing into a symphony of whispers urging me to break the silence. Just as my fingers grazed the cold surface, the mirror shattered in a violent flash, scattering shards of depicted moments into a rain of memory. The concussion of the sound ricocheted through the room, and I felt the pull of the past tighten around me. The air thickened with anguish, and as the shards fell away, the overwhelming weight of heart-wrenching truth enveloped us. Mommy. My youngest cried, clutching at my leg in fear as shadows lunged forward, excited by our breach into long-buried pain. The remnants of my children's laughter now mingled with the fearful cries that echoed from within the depths of the house. With dread coiling in my stomach, I grasped both my children's hands as the darkness blurred and consumed everything around us. I won't let it take you. I shouted, feeling the rage rise through my voice, fierce, raw, and defiant. But even in my defiance, a chilling realization struck me. I had unleashed opened the door for the truth and danger entwined under this roof. As I steadied myself against the rising tide of shadow, I felt an unexpected wind ripple past, carrying the scent of blooming roses, so sweet and inviting in contrast to the cold despair around us. Hey, I whispered, half surprised. Do you smell that? As I turned my eyes toward my children, I realized a flicker of understanding began to form in their expressions, a glimmer of steadfast hope igniting behind their fear. Perhaps, just perhaps, even within the depths of sorrow, the promise of something beautiful lay waiting to bloom. But as we drew closer to that hope, shadowy tendrils coiling around us tightened their grip, whispering promises of torment and tempting us to retreat. And as the last echoes of my children's laughter faded beneath the crushing darkness, I understood in that fleeting moment, while hope glimmered alluringly, it was steeped in a tempest waiting to consume us whole. The echoes of laughter faded into an eerie stillness that clung to us like a shroud. I could feel the shadows swirling, their breath cold against my skin as they took shape, a mounting presence seeming to gather strength from our fear. The sweet scent of roses hung tantalizingly in the air, pitted against the encroaching darkness that threatened to engulf us. It was both intoxicating and cruel, a reminder of love found and love lost. Mommy, I'm scared. My youngest's voice quivered, her grip on my hand tightening. I squeezed back, fighting the surging tide of despair within. "It's okay, sweetheart. We're together," I said, not fully believing the words myself. The very foundation of our supposed sanctuary now felt like quicksand, constantly shifting under our feet. Suddenly, a cold wind howled through the shattered mirror, and from somewhere deep within the fractured depths of our past, screams ripped through the silence, echoing like a fever dream. I clutched my children tighter. The darkness pulsed with anger, each flicker of the shadows a reminder of the rage I had tried to contain. "What do you want?" I shouted into the gloom, my voice trembling as it broke the heavy silence. "Why are you doing this?" My heart raced, pounding against the walls of my chest, as I tried to pierce the fog of fear that enveloped us. A figure flickered to life amidst the shadows, a fleeting glimpse of the girl with the haunted eyes, still trapped in the chaotic swirl. "Help me," she mouthed again, her voice barely a whisper, yet this time it bore a sense of urgency that clawed at my insides. The tendrils of shadow whipped around us, swirling with intent, echoing her cry in a haunting chorus of despair. "Stop!" I bellowed, and the movement stilled for a moment, a hushed pause settling as if the house itself was holding its breath. But the lull didn't last, as darkness, undeterred, lunged forward, consuming that brief moment of courage. Behind me, my oldest child took a tentative step forward. "Mommy, maybe she just wants to be heard." His voice cut through the chaos, a piercing beacon of hope amidst the swirling tendrils. I turned to him, meeting his unwavering gaze, and felt a rush of pride mingled with fear. Was he truly willing to stand at the forefront of this storm? "Maybe if we listen, we can help her get free," he continued, the conviction in his voice giving me strength. The weight of his words settled heavily on my conscience, and with every heartbeat, I felt the stirring of long-buried memories, moments of compassion, joy, and the flickering light that had occasionally pierced through the darkness in our lives. "All right," I said softly, my voice still shaking but laced with determination. "We listen. We help." I hesitated, the shadows pulsating around us, their emotions swirling into an almost tangible pressure. The girl's figure shimmered, and I glimpsed a kaleidoscope of images playing around her, smiles and laughter, heartache and abandonment, flickering moments of a life well lived and yet tragically stunted. The memories felt familiar and distant, yet I needed to dig deeper. "We're here for you. We will listen," I stated firmly, pulling my children to my side as a barrier against the encroaching shadows. Slowly, the girl's spectral form began to solidify, her features sharp and desperate. She stepped forward, until mere inches separated us. "I'm lost," she whispered, the weight of her sadness palpable. I tried to call, to scream, but no one could hear me. My heart ached at her pain. "We hear you now," I said, the truth resonating deeply in my soul. "Tell us your story, let us help." As she opened her mouth to speak, a violent shudder roared through the house, threatening to split the very foundation upon which we stood. The shadows writhed in anger, howling as if to drown out her words, threatening to swallow us whole. No. My oldest cried, defying the darkness as he stepped forward. "You have to let her speak." His outburst reverberated through the room, a challenge that echoed out into the abyss. The shadows hesitated, drawn momentarily away from their intent as if struck by an unexpected wind. Clenching my hand tighter around my children's, I could feel their fears and determination intertwining with mine. We were united now, each of us emboldened by the raw energy that coursed through our shared resolve. The girl began to shimmer with a flickering light, a brave spark glimpsed within the darkness, and the air around us hummed with anticipation. "You must know the truth," she urged, eyes glistening with unshed tears. "It's the only way to break the cycle." But just as the first syllables formed in her lips, the shadows surged back with a vengeance, a fierce howling storm unraveling around us. The air thickened with palpable dread, their rage reaching fever pitch. No. I shouted, panic clawing at my throat. "We can't let it win." In that critical moment, as the darkness lunged, a vision flashed before me, children, their laughter ringing out like the sweet sound of chimes. In that fleeting sight, I saw the promise of healing, of conquering this painful past. I felt the warmth of the blooming roses curl around me again, guiding me against the impending despair. Before I could fully process it, the girl lunged towards us, a rush of desperation and hope melding into one. "Trust me. she cried, her voice trailing into a ghostly echo as she surged forward, entwining our fates in an entwined embrace. The shadows roared in outrage, but as she reached for us, I felt a warmth seeping into my bones, pushing back against the cold that threatened to steal our light. But in the thick of that burgeoning hope, a dark figure emerged from the chaos, cloaked in foreboding. "You think you can set her free? You'll never escape this fate." It thundered, its voice reverberating through the walls, its menace sweeping across the room. My heart faltered. Was this the final challenge, the culmination of our darkest fears? I could see the unease flickering in my children's eyes, just as they had glimpsed the unyielding wrath of despair. "I won't let it take you," I shouted, conviction igniting in my heart. But as I prepared to shield my family, a parting cry echoed from the girl, her fading voice enveloping us. "Help me find the truth." In that moment, as the shadows reeled back, I realized the stakes had risen. We stood on the precipice of a revelation that held the power to forever alter the path we walked. Would I be strong enough to protect my family and uncover the secrets that lay dormant within the wreckage of our past, or would despair finally claim us? Tears blurred my vision as I turned to face the unyielding tide, knowing the challenges ahead could consume us entirely. Yet, deep in my heart, I understood this battle was ours to fight together. And though the weight bore down on me, a flicker of hope remained, unwavering in the face of the storm. The shadows retreated momentarily, allowing the warmth of hope to flicker between us like a candle's flame in a storm. I glanced at my children, their faces a mix of fear and determination, and I knew we had to stand together against the darkness that threatened to unravel us. "Mommy, what does she mean by the truth?" my youngest asked, her voice trembling yet filled with yearning. The girl with haunted eyes loomed beside me, a spectral guide through this abyss. Taking a deep breath, I wanted to shield my children from the weight of what lay ahead, but the urgency in the girl's gaze drew me in like a moth to a flame. "It means we have to uncover the reasons behind the darkness. We have to look back, into our past and into hers. But what about the shadows?" my oldest questioned, his voice steady despite the tremor visible in his hands. "What if they come back?" "They will," I admitted, feeling the gravity of that simple truth. "But we have each other, and we have to believe we can face them together." A voice echoed from the depths of my memory, a ghostly whisper of my own mother reassuring me that every shadow only existed because of the light it sought to obscure. I felt the pulse of that lesson, stronger now than ever. The girl's figure flickered again, her features adorning an ethereal glow in stark contrast to the grasping darkness around us. "You must look for what's buried deep, what's hidden in the echoes of your home. It is there, in the remnants of your life together, that you will find the truth that holds me prisoner." Something within me shifted. The house, once a sanctuary now twisted into a labyrinth of despair, was also the vessel of our shared stories, our joys and pain. "Where do we start?" I asked, my heart beating in unison with the girl's fervent need. "Follow the path of love, trace the memories of laughter and dreams," she whispered, but just as her words began to light the way, the dark figure loomed once more, casting a long shroud over our gathered resolve. "You cannot. Your memories will only bind you deeper in the cycle. What awaits is too terrible to bear." The shadows thickened, swirling with a chilling fury, drowning out the flicker of light. The tempest threatened to pull us under, but the girl surged forward, her form shimmering even as the darkness clawed at her. "No. You cannot stop the truth. It is the only way to break free," she yelled, determination igniting in her gaze. At that moment, I realized the weight of her sacrifice. In a world ruled by shadows, she was fighting against the darkness that had trapped her for far too long. And in her echoing plea, I found the courage to face my own demons, those fragments of guilt and forgotten dreams that had lingered in the corners of my heart. "Let's start with the attic," I said suddenly, my voice firm despite the chaotic swell around us. The attic filled with remnants of our past, a hoard of memories stacked and long forgotten. But what if it's filled with fear? My oldest stammered, uncertainty creeping into his voice. "No," I asserted, squeezing their hands tighter. "It's where I found you both. It's where our family really began." With a collective breath, we turned towards the stairs leading to the attic. The shadows screeched, their angry voices rising like a tempest as we moved. "No. Turn back. You do not understand what you seek. But my heart raced with purpose, for I realized that the wisps of hope tangled among the thorns of fear made us stronger in our search for truth. Each step creaked beneath us, echoing memories long buried, and I could almost hear the laughter of my children from years ago, undisguised joy reverberating against the walls. When we reached the attic door, its surface was scratched and weathered, yet it stood resolute against the darkness pressing against us from behind. The moment I opened the door, a flood of bittersweet memories washed over me, glimpses of birthday celebrations, playful hide-and-seek games, and tender stories shared on quiet nights. "Mommy, it feels different in here," my youngest murmured, a tremor of hope threading through her voice. Ray of light began to seep through the small window, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air. In the corner, a stack of old boxes loomed, every box a potential key to unlock the past. "Yes," I whispered, "it's safe here. We can find the truth together." My heart thudded as I approached the first box, its surface rough beneath my fingertips. Memories flooded back the day I found the beautiful wooden toys for my children, how they lit up with joy, giggles spilling over like sunlight breaking through the clouds. But just as I prepared to pry the lid open, the house trembled violently, and the shadows surged forward, threatening to engulf us once more. "You do not belong here," they shrieked, voices dissonant and chilling. "You cannot escape your fates." The very walls rattled as if echoing the words of the dark figure that loomed nearby. "You risk everything for nothing. Your ignorance blinds you, and in seeking the past, you jeopardize your future." The girl's spectral form flickered beside me, her presence growing dimmer under the weight of shadows. "But they're wrong," she managed to assert, drawing strength from within. "You can do this. Don't look back in fear, the truth will set us all free." With renewed courage, I reached for the box, hands shaking with anticipation and dread. "We're not afraid," I declared, even as my breath quickened. But just as I lifted the lid, everything crashed down. The shadows swept forward like a living tide, and the world around us splintered, leaving us on the precipice of something terrifyingly unknown. "Mommy!" My children screamed, anguish threading through their voices, but I clung to the warm heart of hope nestled within me, a tiny flame against the raging storm. Then, as we hovered on the brink, an unthinkable clarity surged over me. They weren't just my children, they were the embodiment of my strength, my heart, and my purpose. Just as the darkness lunged toward us, a terrible realization struck. The truth we sought might be more complex than I imagined. It could expose pain I wasn't ready to face, or even secrets better left buried. "Whatever lies ahead," I whispered, grounding myself in my truth, "we will face it together." And as I braced myself to confront whatever shrouded revelation waited within the attic, I caught a glimpse of movement in the corner of my eye, an unexpected figure from my past, one I hadn't seen in years, standing resolutely in the shadows. "Why are you here now?" I gasped, fear and disbelief congealing within me as everything around us began to fold into chaos. Their eyes, dark and filled with untold stories, met mine in the flickering light. One thing was clear, the journey to uncover the truth had only just begun, and the stakes had never been higher. As the chaos swirled around us, I staggered back, the weight of the world anchoring me to the attic's floor. The figure from my past stepped forward, emerging slowly from the shadows like a ghost that had been waiting for the right moment to haunt my present. It was Anna, my childhood best friend, the one I thought I had lost to the tides of time and history. "Anna?" My voice barely escaped my lips, a threadbare whisper smeared with disbelief. Why are you here?" Her eyes, once filled with youth and brightness, now held a tempest of emotion, grief, anger, and something more profound that I couldn't name. The shadows flickered, pulsating angrily as if they had sensed the opening of a door that dared to let in light. "I was always here," she replied, her voice calm yet anchored in sorrow, as though the weight of unspoken words pressed down on her. "In the crevices of your memory, in the fabric of your pain. You just chose not to see me." I shook my head, desperately trying to dismiss the weight pressing down on my heart. "No, Anna, it can't be like this. I thought you were gone." As her gaze darkened, the moment thickened with unexpressed feelings. "You left me behind, didn't you?" Her accusation lingered between us like a poisonous cloud. You left the truth behind in this house, buried where you thought no one could find it. But it's been seeking you ever since. Stop! I screamed instinctively, feeling as though the vivid memories of our shared laughter were being twisted into blades of mourning. Please! My children, they can't go through this. With a heartbeat of compassion, Anna softened. The truth will only hurt them if you let it hover in darkness. This pain, your past, it doesn't need to haunt you anymore. You have the power to rewrite it, to help them understand that I wanted to trust her to. Yet the shadows loomed large, ready to engulf us even as I sought clarity in the storm. My children's cries of fear reverberated around me, blending with Anna's fervent urge to confront the haunting truth. Desperate, I glanced at my children, their small forms trembling with fright but resolute in their stances. Well, face it together, I whispered to them, quelling my own unease. I could take this step toward healing, but would it require tearing down the very foundations of the love I built for them? Look, Mommy! My youngest gasped, pointing to a box that had shifted slightly in Anna's presence. What's inside? No. I hollered, reaching out to stop her, panic racing through my veins. Yet, curiosity danced in her eyes, a reflection of my own long-forgotten hope. Let her. Anna urged. What you fear is exactly what she needs, and in that moment of hesitation, the shadows surged forward, claiming space, distorting the air around us. The promise of protection I had vowed to uphold was wavering, and I felt the pull of the darkness threatening to tear us apart. Hold on to each other! I shouted, gathering them close, my heart thundering like a war drum. Yet, even as I enveloped them in my arms, the fierce grip of memory clawed at my mind, memories I had buried beneath the weight of shame and guilt. Mommy! My eldest cried, his voice breaking as the shadows pierced the attic with a cacophony of lost cries and swirling whispers. Stay close! I urged, trying to remain a fortress of warmth amid the howling chaos. Then, in a moment of piercing clarity, the darkness yielded just enough for me to see Anna's face, a reflection of the bond we once shared, a childhood spark intertwined with love and lost promises. We can't run from this, she implored, her voice steady against the clamor of despair, and neither can your children. Let them see what you've hidden. It's time. The ground trembled beneath our feet as if the house itself was imploding under the weight of my decision. I took a deep breath, biting back the tide of fear surging up in my throat. Okay. Together then. I released my grip on my children just a fraction, allowing them the space to face what awaited in the attic. With trembling hands, my eldest reached for the lid of the box, glancing back at me, uncertainty dancing in his wide eyes. Are you sure, Mommy? Yes, I breathed, my heart entwined with love and trepidation. The moment he lifted the lid, a torrent of memories rushed forth, images of laughter and joy, threaded through with hints of sorrow and regret. The first toy I had given him, the fabric of a dress I had worn at a happier moment, and notes scrawled in the margins of a beloved story, all things I had associated with loss, pointing identities lost long ago. As the box emptied itself onto the floor, change rippled through the room. Relics of my past collided with the present, merging truths I had hidden in the darkest recesses of my heart. And just as the shadows clawed closer, I realized the weight of it all wasn't something meant to drown us, but a bridge to cross together. Mommy! My youngest screamed, pointing toward the attic window as a blinding light inched through the cracks. And in that instant, as the soft luminescence blossomed, Anna melted into the shimmering ether, her form dissipating like fog in the dawn. Find me! She called back, her voice echoing in the recesses of my mind, a part of my truth now freed from the chains of silence. But just as I felt the tide turn toward hope, the ambushing darkness, now more frantic, surged like a beast cornered, and a chilling voice rose above the rest, growling, "You cannot change what is destined." I spun to face it, fury bubbling within me. Us? Change? We are more than you realize. But my proclamation fell flat against the very real gravity of what lay ahead. The shadows intensified, swirling like a storm bound to consume everything, leaving only uncertainties in its wake as the attic pulsed with nearness to revelation. Without warning, a rumble reverberated through the house, chilling me to the bone. The attic began to buckle and warp. Hold on tight. I screamed, clutching my children, together braced against the memory tearing us apart in the encroaching darkness. Then, the last truth, the darkest truth that I had always tried to bury underground, echoed starkly through the chaos, a whispering revelation that would shatter the fragile mask I had worn for so long. The figure in my life wasn't just a glimpse from the past. It was the very embodiment of a secret that had rearranged our destinies, binding our fates into something unforeseen. And as the room dissolved into an overwhelming abyss, one question burned in my mind, threatening to obliterate the ground upon which we stood. What if the truth about my past isn't just mine to bear, but it changes everything for us all? The shadows swirled sharper, clutching at the tendrils of what was yet to come, and the realization crashed over me like a wave. No one could hold on to the truth forever, and if I didn't grasp it now, we might never reclaim the light. As the shadows tightened their grip on the attic's air, my heart raced with the urgency of a storm about to break. I wrapped my arms protectively around my children, drawing them close to my chest, but I could feel the chaos seeping in around us, an omen of hidden truths clawing at our sanctuary. Mommy, the light! My youngest exclaimed, pointing toward the attic window, his tiny fingers trembling with a mix of fear and awe. It's so bright, but the light's brilliance was fickle against the relentless dark, and as I turned to gaze at the source, the haunting echoes of Anna's voice warped around me. Find me! It insisted, a siren call that reached deeper than my own memories. I wanted to obey her, to chase after fragments of our shared past that had morphed into something dark, yet hopeful. The thought of uncovering whatever truth Anna had left behind was daunting, almost suffocating. What if the light that beckoned us was merely a deceptive glimmer amidst the churning shadows? Mommy! My eldest shouted, his voice thick with concern as he clung to my side. What's happening? Please don't let it take us. I replied, fusing my fear with resolve. We are stronger than this. In that moment, a flicker of hope ignited within me, a small ember struggling against the raging storm. This room held not just memories but the keys to forging a new path, one steeped in the truth that had once haunted me. Summoning all the courage I could muster, I turned toward the box spilling over with relics of our shared history. Let's look together, I urged, my voice firm. We have to uncover what's inside. With hesitant hands, my children reached into the depths of the box, curiosity battling against the gravity of our circumstance. As they fumbled through its contents, a collection of photographs tumbled out, fluttering like fallen leaves caught in a breeze. Each image brought a cascade of memories flooding back, memories mired in the bittersweet agony of nostalgia. There's something here. My eldest flipped over a photo, a snapshot from a distant summer day, where Anna, vibrant and full of life, beamed beside me, our faces splashed with sunlight. But the edges of the photo were tarnished, the laughter within frozen in a time before shadows invaded our lives. Mommy, who is this? My youngest asked softly, breaking the spell of silence that enveloped us. I steeled myself, words thrumming at the edges of my consciousness like a storm waiting to break. That's Anna, my best friend when I was your age. She was like a sister to me, but she looks sad, he observed, those innocent eyes reflecting the same confusion swirling in my heart. Why? The shadows quivered, a growl reverberating within the walls as if they were alive and listening, ready to claim whatever cracks in my defenses were exposed. Because I lost her, I whispered, feeling the raw impulse to protect my children from the waves of sorrow threatening to flood us anew. We lost each other. Mommy, you should find her, my youngest pleaded, those wide, earnest eyes seeking validation. Yes, I managed to say, though fear tangled with every syllable. Would finding Anna peel back layers of pain best left untouched? What if the truths we unearthed only deepened the fractures within our family? Yet, through that fear battered by nostalgia, the twinkling possibility of a new beginning twinkled like stars steadfast in the night sky. We will face this together, I repeated. I could feel their trembling resolve flaring, mirroring my own. That flicker of hope fueled my bravery. Let's keep looking. Together. Carefully, we delved deeper, unearthing more photographs, cherished trinkets, and forgotten letters, our whispers interwoven with the chaotic howls of the dark. Each discovery carried with it delicate threads of Anna's life, stories that twisted into a tapestry binding both light and shadow. Suddenly, one of the letters fluttered from my youngest's grasp, falling open against the floor. I knelt to pick it up, my pulse quickening as I scanned the words scrawled in a familiar hand. "Dear Rebecca," it began, and as I read, the room around us dimmed, shadows cast by unrelenting fears urging me to stop, the unbroken connection to Anna's past spilled into present confessions, revealing a friendship forged in shared dreams, and an unspoken promise both beautiful and haunting. Each word had power, a weight that was about to crush the doting facade I had surrounded my children with all these years. "Mommy," my eldest gasped, dread flickering across his features. "What does it say?" Yet just as I was about to share them the truth hidden between the lines, the house let out a groan that echoed in my bones, the walls vibrating with the anguish of histories kept alive by our whispered secrets. Then, in an instant, an eerie silence fell, an anticipatory weight that felt like the calm before a tempest, and in that suffocating stillness came a revelation from the shadows. The flickering of lights intensified, revealing a figure lurking in the corner of the attic, a reflection of self I hadn't anticipated. An apparition, an older version of myself, filled with fractures I had overlooked and burdens I had cast aside, flooded into view. I could feel my heart plummet. "Are you ready to accept it?" the figure asked, dread lacing its voice like a serpent coiling in the dark that it couldn't behold it. The embodiment of everything I had fought against, a mirror reflecting the very shadows I thought I had buried. But all at once, as if sensing the fracture of doubt threatening to split my resolve, Anna's voice merged with that of my own haunting specter. "Your past will not define your future unless you allow it to settle in the dark. What you hold on to cannot be formless. Release it or watch it consume you." My children looked up at me, their eyes wide but filled with an understanding that was almost unnaturally profound. Would they see the truth in me? Could I provide guidance when I understood so little myself? And just then, before I could respond, the shadows lunged forward, its cries a tempest roaring to claim us, stirring bitter winds that raked sharply against our faces. It was as if the very darkness itself knew what I was about to uncover. "Do you dare confront the truth?" my past self whispered, a question posed in reverence and fear, as the tempest of truth raged around us. We stood at the edge of revelation, a storm brewing with the power to dismantle the barriers I had built over years. The flicker of hope I had felt had now become an all-consuming blaze, and the trembling of shadows intertwined with my fear of how much more shattering the truth could be. With trembling hands and a heart filled with uncertainty, I clutched my children tightly, standing at the precipice of the unknown, breath held in anticipation, waiting for the answer to the question that would change everything. I felt the breath leave my lungs as the shadows swirled about us, an ominous dance of foreboding threatening to pull us under. Yet, in the midst of my fear, the truth curled around my heart like a vine, promising both horrors and healing. Facing my past was all-consuming, but my children stood beside me unwavering and resolute, the embodiment of hope etched into their innocent faces. "Together," I whispered, but even as I uttered the word, doubt clenched at my insides. Would uncovering the truth merely unearth more pain? Or could it unravel the chains binding us to this darkness? The moments hung in the air like suspended raindrops, the shadows closing in, tasting our fear. "Let's start with the letter," I said, directing my gaze at my children. "What we learn next could bring us one step closer." My youngest nodded, her small fingers trembling as she reached for the letter that lay brightly against the gloom. The chaotic swirl of the shadows hissed like angry serpents, but their intensity began to fade slightly, as if drawn back by the flickering resolve igniting within us. The room pulsed with energy, each heartbeat thrumming in time with the words on that fragile page. As my eldest leaned in closer, the light from the attic window caught the dust that danced in the air, almost creating a halo around us. "Mommy, please read it," he urged, his voice firm, too wise for his tender years. That I lifted the paper, my breath catching as memories flooded in. "Dear Rebecca," I read aloud, "I am writing this letter to remind you of the warmth we shared, of laughter and joy, moments that fill my heart with hope. But there are shadows hovering in our lives, things we've buried under unbearable weight. We mustn't forget that we are stronger than the darkness surrounding us." Each line wrapped me in reveries and fears, truths bubbling to the surface that had long remained silent, tethered beneath layers of denial. "Mommy, who's it to?" my youngest asked, eyes wide and innocent, and as I paused, I felt the shadows hush around us, waiting perhaps for me to slip, to drown under the truth. "It's from Anna," my best friend, I replied, my voice trembling as I pushed on. She cared for me and she knew the pain I carried from losing her. And in that moment, I realized Anna's words were deeper than nostalgia, they were a catalyst for healing I so desperately needed. She believed in the power of facing our fears altogether, I continued. In honesty, vulnerability, and love, peeked between the remnants of sorrow captured in Anna's words was an invitation, a call to embrace the light we could create together, to rewrite the narrative shrouded in regret. I glanced over at my children, emboldened by the connection we were forging amidst the shadows, even within the depths of this tumultuous storm. What does she want from you? My eldest asked, concern softening his youthful features. To forgive myself, I replied, my voice almost a whisper as I took a deep, steadying breath. To break free from the shadows holding me back. Our past doesn't have to define our future. This house holds our stories, but we will not remain trapped within them. With determination, I stepped forward, my heart humming with the warmth of new resolve. The shadows coiled tighter, their whispers transforming into growls that resonated through the very foundation. You think you can rewrite your fate? They spat, dampened by the flickering wool igniting like a stubborn flame. You will see the destruction the truth can render. I will see it, I challenged, eyes blazing with a fire I had thought extinguished. But I will not do it alone. The shadows recoiled, giving way just enough for a sliver of light to slice through their serpentine forms. I turned back to the letter, my voice steady. Anna said the truth will set us free, so let's keep searching. The tension in the air trembled nervously, but I meant every word. We would unveil whatever lay beneath the surface together. I gestured toward the box once more, the contents spilling over to our feet. In it lay photographs puncturing memories even deeper than those captured in ink. Let's explore what else is hidden here. We dove into the chaos, our fingers sifting through artifacts of laughter and heartbreak that brushed at the edges of our emotions. Mommy, look! My eldest exclaimed, holding up a plush bunny worn through time. This is mine. You gave it to me when I was little. A vivid memory rushed back, a moment framed by love that had been twisted under fear but now glimmered with warmth. Yes, I nodded, a smile breaking through. You loved that bunny. You would carry it everywhere. That memory, however fleeting, felt like a salve on wounded hearts, stitching us back together as the shadows writhed in agitation. I think I see another letter, my youngest piped up, holding another piece of paper, a half-crumpled note yellowed with age. As I read the letter softly, Anna's heartfelt words flooded back to me. I wish we could go back to those carefree days when laughter rang through our hearts. The universe can feel dark at times, but the love we share can illuminate the path forward. Hold on to it, Rebecca. It was clear, Anna was right. The love we held could light the way through the darkness together. Everything we face can only guide us towards each other's hearts, I told my children as the shadows recoiled, their icy grip beginning to thaw. We must remind ourselves that love is our strongest weapon, no matter how deep the pain goes. Just then, as the chaos seemed to ebb, a flicker of light surged through the room, brighter than anything we had witnessed before, illuminating the attic with warmth. Together! I shouted, rallying my children beside me. We are stronger than these shadows. Together, we break the chains. Together. They echoed, their voices united, trembling with newfound determination against a darkness that had challenged their innocence. The shadows screamed, swirling around us in a cacophony of rage as they fought to reclaim control. But the brilliance in our hearts spun brighter, the memories we had jarred loose now shimmering against the murky fear. As I clasped my children's hands tighter, I felt the warmth of years of love, laughter, and unshed tears manifesting in the air between us, a tangible testament to the connection we shared. With that warmth humming inside, I turned, facing the heart of that darkness. We are not afraid. We face this together. I declared, my voice shaking the very walls of our history as we surged forward, united against the tempest. In that final moment, as shadows shrieked and whipped about us, I could feel the fractures of despair shattering, and for the first time in a long time, I dared to believe the darkness would relent. Hand in hand, we stepped past the veil of despair, emerging into the light that shimmered beyond, and as the shadows coiled back in defeat, the voice of Anna weaved through my mind. the truth set free is a tapestry woven by love, a binding force stronger than anything forged in fear. In that clarity, I understood the essence of our rebirth. This journey had empowered us to honor what we had lost, forging our story anew with every scar a testament to our unyielding strength. As the light enveloped us, I turned to my children, love and gratitude swelling in my heart, binding us not only by our shared past but by the promise of the future we would create together, a web of resilience spun from hope, love, and acceptance. Together, I murmured softly, my voice merging with the luminous embrace of newfound freedom. In that final heartbeat, I understood every tear and every sigh formed the very foundation of our family. And as we stepped into that blinding glow, the final truth solidified within me, a truth no longer shrouded in shadows, but woven into the fabric of our being. In the sanctuary of love, we let the echoes of laughter fill the air once more, each note a reminder, we could create beauty, even from the darkest ground beneath our feet. We had emerged into the light, and just as we took our first steps past the threshold, I held on to that bright belief: together, we were more than the shadows of our past, we were the promise of tomorrow.